Happy holidays, everybody, and Tony here with my tribute to Joey's First Fan from Rock, which aired on Fox on December 13, 1992. This was directed by Stan Lathan, and it was written by Jerry Ross. I came across the dramedy/sitcom Rock barely 2 years ago by complete chance. I never really heard of this particular show because I mainly knew Charles S. Dutton for his work as Captain Jonas Cutter from the Are You Afraid of the Dark two-parter episode, The Tale of Cutter's Treasure. And since catching a couple of episodes of Rock, most notably Terrence Gets a Gun, I was immediately hooked with this show. This show was not afraid to tackle some serious issues occurring, such as racism, as well as drug abuse, poverty, and many other plights that mostly affect the Black American community, let alone American society at large. What made Rock truly fascinating is not just the themes that it covered, but also its star-studded cast, mostly consisting of people specializing in theater. Most notably, Carl Gordon, who played Rock's and Joey's father, Pops, who is also well known for doing a lot of Broadway and off-Broadway shows. Aside from Carl Gordon as the veteran, there was also Charles S. Dutton himself, as well as Ella Joyce playing Eleanor, Rock's wife, and Rocky Carroll as Joey, Rock's younger brother. So this show had a lot going for it. However, it wasn't as popular of a show with Fox because by the time the third season rolled around, it wasn't able to continue with another storyline, let alone a few more episodes. Unfortunately, this did upset Charles S. Dutton because he felt like Fox was mainly catering to a mostly white audience and felt like this show should never ever be allowed to be clownish, let alone allow himself or his fellow actors to present themselves as clownish, cartoonish, or overtly stereotypical, which is a huge shame because Rock had a lot of amazing things going for it. But for some fans of the show, they felt like the show was canceled after the third season because it felt too real, not only for Hollywood, but also for Fox in particular, and probably also for television. Some viewers say that the world was not yet ready to encounter such a show that dealt with some of the uglier sides of American society, ranging from racism to drug abuse to poverty to a lot of inequality, as well as gun violence, let alone violence among communities and even Black American youth. Thus, Rock never held back on its punches, and it was such an impactful show, not only for viewers watching, but I would even argue for the Black American community because they wanted to see a show that resonated with them, as well as eschewed from a lot of the stereotypes, as well as the overtly idealized versions of Black American family life. Instead of seeing the Cosby Show's Huxtable family being all posh and well-educated, genteel, and thoroughly happy with their wealth, as well as their tightness as a family who so happen to be Black American, but also are not afraid to interact with various people of different skin colors, races, and cultures. Rock demonstrated that there are people in the Black American community who don't really have that same access to financial wealth or education, or in a basic sense, social upward mobility. But the one attribute that Rock, Eleanor, Pops, and Joey have is that they stick together as a family, even when their financial situations are not really the most ideal. And Joey's First Fan also demonstrates the harsh reality of how young kids try to find themselves gaining easy money, but not through legitimate means. Before we go to the main meat of the story, Carl Gordon, who plays Pops, makes an introductory statement and even greets the audience with jokingly stating that it would be great if his character got his own focus episode, as well as take jabs at the performing arts industry for not paying its actors enough, especially when a television show is airing on one of the big networks. This all wraps up with Carl Gordon wishing us, the viewers, a very Merry Christmas, both in a rather ironic way, but flipping the switch and showing his more genuine, warmer side to wish us, the viewers, a very Merry Christmas. The main meat of the story revolves around Joey and his protege, Devon Brown, played by T.E. Russell. Devon exhibits a lot of promise as a young and rising trumpeter, because through Joey's mentorship, he has finally found a spot at the Peabody Music Conservatory, which so happens to be one of the most renowned conservatories, arguably from all over the United States. This newfound achievement has also made Devon a sort of minor celebrity among Rock, Eleanor, Pops, and even Joey himself. He also expresses his pride and joy for Devon being accepted into the Peabody Music Conservatory and reminisces the times that he trained him in the trumpet, and also joked that while he played beautifully on the trumpet when he was a very young lad, his voice was quite squeaky when he spoke. This also compels Devon to play a piece dedicated to Joey, which Joey is not only impressed, but also touched by. And this is also reflected on how Rock, Eleanor, and Pops perceive not only Devon and his superb trumpet playing, but also how well Joey has done as a mentor, let alone a big brother figure to Devon. Joey even expresses that he sees Devon as the younger brother that he always wanted to have. And this is also demonstrated by the strong bond both Joey and Devon have. They almost feel like family, as if though that Joey were the wise and worldly older brother to Devon's more energetic and very enthusiastic younger brother. To top it all off, there's this strong bond that both men have with each other, as well as some pretty clever banter going on. One example is when Joey and Devon are in the family living room and are about to practice, and Joey's instruction for Devon is that there has to be a lot more blues in his playing for this piece. This then leads up to a conversation about the trumpeter, Miles Davis, and their opinions about his trumpet playing. I'm sure that there will be those people who will be very familiar with Miles Davis's trumpet playing. And for those who are not, this scene might probably be flying over certain people's heads, including mine. But as I've done a lot more research about Miles Davis, I did find out that yes, he was one of the most renowned trumpeters who was also very well known, not only for his playing, but also for the impact that he's had in the music world. Even Joey did take issue about Devon's statements about Miles Davis first being very well known as a trumpeter, but once he became a lot more mainstream, he leaned towards more in the pop music genre. But all of this leads to Devon still looking up to Joey as if though that he were still the best trumpeter that he's ever listened to. However, Joey's and Devon's bond is about to disintegrate once Joey, Rock, Eleanor, and Pops find out that Devon is working for Andre Thompson, a drug dealer with whom Rock had had his initial contention with, especially considering that Rock does not tolerate the presence of drugs in his neighborhood and feels that Andre Thompson's presence is going to cause a whole lot of trouble for the people that he cares about. Joey confronts Devon about what on earth he's doing with Andre Thompson, with Devon rebutting that he's just here to do some errands, deliver some goods, and get paid. That's it. But Joey warns him that Andre Thompson is a potentially bad influence, but Devon will have none of that and ends up storming away. This concerns Rock as he feels that Joey is throwing himself in the line of fire and feels that if he dares try to confront Andre Thompson in such a foolhardy manner, then how on earth is he going to rescue him from such a terrible fate? He also doesn't even have enough money for Joey to be bailed out of prison should something go down between him and Andre. But Joey is still determined to rescue his young protege from the clutches of Andre. And the final confrontation takes place at the barber shop, with Joey desperately pleading to Andre that Devon has a lot of potential to make it as a great musician at the Peabody Music Conservatory. And what I love about this scene is Clifton Powell at his most intense. I revel in his intensity and strength as a performer, considering how much he was able to embody Andre with that imposing quality, as if though he were a mob boss never to be messed with, and someone who is feared but also somewhat admired by certain people that he's close with, but feared by the rest of the community. As if though he were the bogeyman coming to get your children and be in his terrible hands. But there's a quality to Clifton Powell's portrayal of Andre Thompson that makes him pretty magnetic, but in a very curious and pretty scary way. This even gets to the point where Andre commands Devon to play his trumpet, not only for him, but for everybody at the parlor. So Devon does as what he's told, especially when Joey instructs him to play his trumpet. And just as Joey thought that he's about to have Devon back, Andre says, no, that's not necessarily true. Devon does what he wants to do and has a mind of his own. Even when Joey continues to convince Devon to stay away from Andre so that he will not take drugs anymore, Andre rebuffs all of what Joey has been telling to Devon and states that Devon is his own best customer, and he does take all those drugs too. So all of this is revealed that Devon works for Andre in delivering drugs as well as using drugs to fund for his education at the Peabody Music Conservatory. This is an example of a young talent who is willing to discard conventional moral decency to find himself in the dark underbelly of drugs just to get by and survive financially in such a competitive school. And given Devon's financial and socioeconomic situation, it's pretty compromising and, dare I say, tough not only on him, but probably for his family who couldn't even afford much. So he decides to go the desperate route and work for Andre in delivering drugs, thus ensuring that he will be paid handsomely for his education. Joey is once again hopeless in trying to bring Devon back, but it's too late. Andre signals for him to depart, and what I also love about this final scene is the use of silence. Silence between one of the workers of the barbershop, the old barber himself, and Joey, with Joey looking towards the direction of Andre and Devon, as if though there was a huge loss between everybody, especially where Joey is concerned. And once Joey departs from the barber shop, even the old barber is totally overwhelmed by what has transpired. And that's what this scene signifies: loss. Joey loses Devon to Andre and feels that he will never get him back because Devon has found himself in that road to perdition that he will never ever escape from. Even if he is to acquire all that money to pay for his tuition at the Peabody Music Conservatory, he is still in that road to perdition because he has sacrificed every bit of his morals and every bit of what he truly believes in just for the sake of easy money, let alone money acquired in the most unscrupulous way possible. This is also Devon's loss, as he has basically sacrificed every good deed that he has done as a musician in favor of easy money just to pay for his college tuition, as well as trying to have a spot as a musician, let alone ensure that he maintains financial capital to not only thrive as a musician, but also try to do well in his school. But it will not be a surprise to anybody that that same money that he's going to use for delivering drugs might end up catching up to him to the point where he might end up being potentially in trouble with the law. And now that he has chosen this compromising path, it is highly unlikely that he will end up thriving as a musician, let alone winning the legitimate way, given that Joey has promised him that if he stays away from drugs, then there's going to be a whole lot of great things happening to him, like record deals and a lot of concert venues and things that he could earn legitimately as a musician. But he's thrown all of that away, and he has only led himself to sink in a lot of hopelessness and a lot of vices with drugs. Even Andre makes it clear that Devon has a mind of his own and is willing to do what needs to be done, even though that this is not the most scrupulous thing to do. And that's what it all symbolizes. It's implied that there's no hopeful ending for Devon because he's only going to sink into a lot more perdition for himself and probably for his family, as well as his former mentor. And now that he's taken Andre's lead, what future is there for Devon, especially as a trumpeter? It's implied that it's going to be extremely shaky at best and pretty terrible at worst. And Joey at this point feels totally helpless because he has already lost someone that he has been cultivating, raising as if though that he were his younger brother, and someone that he could see a lot of potential in. But he even feels upset that that potential has been thrown away because of all this promise of easy money through drug usage and through drug handling, let alone drug peddling. Therefore, there is no happy ending in Joey's and Devon's story, let alone their bond as surrogate big brother and surrogate younger brother, let alone as mentor and mentee. It's severed, and they'll never recuperate from that broken tie ever again. But it's not all doom and gloom in this particular holiday episode. Oh no. We still have Pops telling stories of the many celebrities that he's met in the past, from B.B. King to Muhammad Ali, which has also left Rock, Eleanor, and Joey first skeptical, but then totally entertained by his stories. Then there's also that wager that Rock proposes to Eleanor once he finds an old cash register. He bets that Eleanor can't fix it because he can't trust her to do such things. But Eleanor proves him wrong by showing that she does manage to fix that cash register with all of the bells and whistles, and has even repaired the VCR player. And as part of Eleanor's wager, she even states that once she proves that she could fix anything, she does have that catch. Now, Rock must prepare dinner every Sunday night, and the first recipe that she wants him to make is stuffed fish. However, Rock's culinary skills prove to be absolutely terrible, as it is implied that the stuffed fish that he prepared for Pops and Eleanor might be severely undercooked, let alone underseasoned, or a combination of both. This gets to the point where Eleanor proposes that she and Pops better go out for either Italian pizza or Chinese food. And I thought that those two moments were absolutely fun to witness. The other touching moment has to be with Rock and Joey. Once Joey exposits to Rock everything that has transpired between him, Andre, and Devon, considering that it is Devon's loss that he has been inducted into drugs, and feels that Joey did try everything in his power to rescue him, but it was all for naught. Rock comforts him and consoles him that he is proud of what he tried to do to help Devon out of that ditch. He even gives Joey some of the remaining stuffed fish for him to try out, which he ends up acquiescing. Speaking of Joey, it was quite a wonderful treat to see him perform, especially in the opening. This also shows the impact that not only he has as a musician, but the potential impact that he has had on Devon as his protege. At least everything ends well with Rock, Eleanor, and Joey trying out a new slot machine that he found, with Joey becoming fortunate that he has won a lot more quarters, and Rock being not so fortunate. But at least the episode ends so wonderfully and happily, with all of the actors and crew members just coming out to the audience, taking their bows, and even having Charles S. Dutton himself hold up a poster saying, "Rock loves Tria Campbell," in strong support of a young woman who was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer and hopes that she will get her treatment. So this episode really was not only heartwarming to her, but is also unafraid to show the darker side of how certain young people will do something extremely compromising, not only to jettison their career, but to potentially pay for their tuition just to find themselves in a music school, but also find themselves in a whole lot of personal dilemmas, let alone personal troubles when their own terrible habits catch up to them. So Joey's First Fan was an absolutely amazing Christmas episode. It doesn't really contain all of that great Christmas cheer, let alone all of that Kwanzaa cheer for the Black American community, but it does contain a strong message, thus showing that there are young people who will do everything in their power just to try to find themselves with a lot more financial wealth, let alone more financial capital, through desperate means possible. And for Devon's case, it is basically giving himself into the world of drugs just to fund his own music education. But this comes at a cost, that he ends up losing the trust of his mentor, Joey. And what makes this episode strong is that it demonstrates that there is no easy solution. There is no happy ending, let alone hopeful ending, for those people who have given themselves into the world of drugs just because of easy money. And this particular episode demonstrates that with flying colors. If you haven't seen Joey's First Fan, I highly order you, let alone recommend you, to please check this episode out. You will have a great time, not only with Pops telling his stories about the celebrities that he's met, as well as how much he also feels that both Christmas and Kwanzaa should be celebrated, which is also reciprocated by Eleanor, but you'll also love the battle of sexes occurring between Rock and Eleanor, but most importantly, you will find yourselves incredibly intrigued with the story that Joey and Devon have together as mentor and mentee. And for those of you who caught Joey's First Fan, what did you think of it? Did you really enjoy this particular episode? Did you also feel that this episode spoke strongly to you? Were you also a fan of Joey's and Devon's bond as mentor and mentee? Or was this episode not particularly interesting to you? Please let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for my tribute to Rock's first Christmas episode, Joey's First Fan. Tune in later for my tribute to the second Christmas episode, Dear Landlord. So until then, happy holidays, everybody.